Welcome to the Gaming Trend Podcast, the official podcast of GamingTrend.com. My name is Anthony Shelton, and I am joined by David Burdett.
Hello there.
And the newest guest host, Jackson Lustberg.
Hi.
In this podcast, we talk about the latest games we could get our hands on. We talk about the games in our backlog we should have played a long time ago and games you absolutely need to play. We also squeeze in news. This week, we finally get to talk some Crime Boss Rockay City with Jackson and David. Y'all two played that. Jackson, you're reviewing it, I believe, yes?
Yes, I am.
There you go. I played Sifu Arenas. David played some Call of Duty Season 3. And we've been dogging it for episode after episode. At least 3 times. And now, on the 4th appearance on the Gaming Trend Podcast, we will talk XDefiant and show you this game that we have been talking about for
In
a
all
long
fairness,
time.
I haven't been dogging it. Like, I actually have enjoyed the little bit I've played, but
More or less, I think we've been dogging it. So yes, we finally get to show you what that looks like. So let's talk Crime Boss Rockay City. Jackson, you are the guest. You are reviewing it. Hit us with your thoughts.
It is, in my humble opinion, okay. So it
Well
tries
said.
to do quite a bit. Whether it actually pulls off what it's trying to do is kind of like 50-50 depending on the feature. It's like a roguelike, but you have to wait so long in between levels at a certain point. Really feels like it railroads you into dying just to get that like roguelike aspect off. I'll start with some like background.
Explain that a little bit. That sounds interesting. I've never heard that described for any roguelite. What do you mean railroads you into dying?
It just feels like at a certain point, like the enemies just become cracked, for lack of a better word, and they just start melting you away later on. And it feels like you have to, I guess, just go to your next evolution because, you know, every time you die, or most of the time you die, you get a bunch of like your levels at once.
Okay.
And so you can do stuff like increase your gang size, increase how little you need to pay for defending your territory, those kinds of things. So it feels like, okay, at
the
this
little
point,
perks.
Yeah. Like you need to accumulate quite a few of them. At a certain point, it feels like the game's telling you to die.
So it doesn't feel like as time goes on, the enemies just get better. It feels like, because you know, like there's some games where it's like as you progress, like the next wave of enemies, like they're getting stronger because you know they're trying to provide you a little bit of challenge. So it starts a little easy and then it ends a little bit harder. This doesn't feel like that.
At one point during one of the defense missions, I was spawned in front of like 15 gangsters. It literally just put me in front of the firing squad and was like, good luck, kid. All on you.
Gotcha.
Hope you got a good gaming chair, you know?
Yep. And the something that I noticed right off the bat, like you can only do so many missions in a day. Like it's doing the whole day thing. So, and it's all based on your crew size as to what you can actually go do.
What?
So for instance, like if you've got a crew of like 4 people, you could send 2 people to do this mission. Then you could try to do the other 2 another time. So stupid me, the only way the roguelike simulation resets is if the boss dies. So what you're trying to do is make sure you're sending the crew members on these missions so there's less of a chance, even though the boss does have some cool abilities and gear and stuff like that you can kind of focus on him. But I ran into a mission by myself just because I was like, well, I'll just go ahead and try to do this so that I can, because I wanted the extra cash, ended up getting myself completely Kentucky fried. So it reset me back all the way to square one, beyond, a couple of specifics that you get to keep, given the whole roguelike thing. So yeah, it's we were talking about this playing the multiplayer. This game feels like it wants to do a lot of things, but it doesn't know which one it wants to put in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Which you continue on that, Jackson. I kind of hijacked your train of thought here.
It's got these. I'm not sure if it's definitely not like procedurally generated, but they're like prefabricated stages with like a few adjustments, like where the like security cameras are based. There's like a TV to turn them off that you got to infiltrate. But sometimes, for some reason, you'll get like 3 guards just sort of standing there, backs against the wall, so you can't take them out quietly, and they're just staring at the objective. And it's like, okay, so you have effectively railroaded me out of being able to do any stealth. I guess I'll just start shooting people, which is not something you really want to do, especially in the late game.
And if you're only by yourself, like, completely.
Yeah. There are hostile and non-hostile takedowns. The non-hostile takedown is pretty much just telling them to get on the floor by waving a gun at them. Sometimes it just straight up doesn't work. Sometimes, like, the cops will just look at you and be like, no, you get on the floor. And you're like, okay.
What?
Yeah, we had the same. We were playing the multiplayer, one of the co-op missions. I made a security guard, told him to get on the floor. He immediately does. Jackson in the other room does it, and the guy just starts shooting back.
I guess he just
I mean, it's just he was not having it. He did not have his coffee yet. Like, bro was not in the mood.
Are there classes of enemies where telling them to
No
try to do it?
Not really.
No,
I think I haven't
totally
ever
random.
successfully told a gangster to get down. I think you just have to like hit him in the back. But like security guards pretty much have to. That's the only way to deal with it because the game punishes you for killing them. Like it raises your alertness level if you do.
And yet you don't know who will and who won't. Like there's no figuring that out. I mean, I guess that's real life. There you go. Maybe some will and some won't.
I don't think it's a
weird
feature though. I think it's probably a bug.
It sounds like it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much like if Payday was robbing from other gangsters, so that you have gangsters that fight back. So you're kind of fighting two factions. You'll fight the gangsters, but the cops are also coming at the same time. So you'll end up fighting both if you're not careful.
That sort of leads me into the campaign where you're pretty much story is pretty much non-existent, which is fair because it's the roguelike aspect would make having to sit through a story each time a pain. It's you want to become the king of Florida. Here's a map, conquer all the territories. And so there are, let's say, 4 or 5 other gangster factions, and it seems like they never fight with each other. They're all kind of set to just beat you up, which is greatly unfortunate because there's like a little meter in the corner that says like, oh, this gang has a truce with this one. This one's not hostile to any other gang but you, which you'll see a lot.
But in none of those cases, if they don't have a truce with a different faction, they're not fighting that faction.
They're pretty much never going to fight another faction from what I've seen.
Even Ubisoft can like figure out like how to make the factions fight each other, even though it's just window dressing.
Yeah.
That is weird.
I think once upon a time, I saw one territory change hands, and I was like, what was that? Was that a bug? And it was, I feel like it could have added so like much more if you were given the option to, I guess, create an alliance, take down the rest, turn on your like alliance partner. Maybe they gain another alliance. It could have added layers, but it's sort of you getting like beat up by 4 other gangsters. Greatly unpleasant.
Which again leans into the whole it doesn't know exactly what it wants to be.
Yeah. Gunplay's good though.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not half bad actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you look at the footage, it's actually a decently pretty looking game too.
It's well made. It's really well made. It's $40, which I'd say is a bit of a plus, but like doesn't exactly spare it of all like the downsides.
No.
Guns, there's a pretty big diversity in guns. Like there's a card that makes it so that when you spawn in, you get a cool new like high tier gun. Every time I use that card, I got an interesting working weapon. One of them was like silenced, which made all the levels really easy. Yeah, it's well made, but it just fails to properly execute on a lot of the stuff it starts.
I was looking at the moment where the guy was grabbing the money and he's just kind of like throwing his hands out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like at some point, and I'm sure this is resource intensive, but I would love to see at some point developers who make co-op games where when you're looking at one of your co-op partners doing something, it actually looks like the thing that they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like they're just like staring at a bunch of precious metals very intently and they're just disappearing, being atomized in front of you.
It reminds me of what I remember seeing in Time Splitter sometimes when you're doing actions and it's just like, yeah, whatever you're doing, it's not happening on my screen.
Yep.
Just kind of looking at it.
One of the other things we talked about, there's a lot of they've got a lot of star power in this game.
Oh yeah.
You know, Chuck Norris, Vanilla Ice. I'm failing.
Danny
Marston,
Glover, right?
Danny Glover, Danny Trejo.
Love that guy.
They've got all these great people in, but they end up through the little bit of story I did. It was pretty much them pretty much just yelling cliches at each other.
Yeah.
Like it's over the top campy.
I feel like the
and not in a good way.
Sometimes it very occasionally will land, and I'll just give it like the good old nose exhale, like you know, like not quite a laugh.
Yeah,
like
not good enough.
Yeah.
I mean, do they sound like they're selling the dialogue, or is this the script bad?
It could be both.
Okay.
I could say that's both.
I was really excited when I saw the trailer, right? And I
saw
Chuck Norris's hand graze a basketball and send it into high orbit, and it knocked out a satellite and then landed in a hoop. If they made the whole game like that, this would have been like pretty, like a lot better. Because I feel like if they went full throttle with the campy, just like full throttle
absurd.
with the two, yeah, like.
Yeah, it tries to take itself really seriously, especially at the beginning from what I saw. And like there was when you recruit Michael Rooker's character, like his nickname is Touchdown, and he literally makes every possible sports reference that he possibly could. But there's the moment when him and Michael Marston are talking to each other. There's this odd pause in between the dialogue. And because of the way it switches views, like it keeps switching between each person, like complete screen change.
Oh gosh.
To where it looks like they're almost on a Zoom call to a degree. But that weird pause is just enough to disconnect you completely from the feeling that they're actually talking to each other. Yeah. Like it's weird. I swear it's just so weird. But like you said, it's like, man, why didn't you just lean into this being campy? Because it is. And when it's the campier it is, and when it's intended,
Yeah.
It's funny. It's the fact is when it's not.
When you first meet Touchdown, he's just on some random dock somewhere holding a football. Just,
and he was pretty funny in that instance.
was,
In the actual
yeah.
gameplay instance, it was pretty funny.
I guess I just wish it went harder into everything it did. It just plays it too safe.
Yeah.
Are they playing it too safe, or are they not focused?
I could go with not focused, like just personally.
I could go with that too. Yeah. I guess I just wanted them to flesh it out more, is what I should say, because a roguelike system, they could have added a lot more cards, like beyond just basic stat boosts, like plus 10.
So there's cards.
Yeah,
it's kind of the perks thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
it's
okay,
the whole perks idea when you die.
Okay.
Yeah, you can unlock them when you're still alive. It's just.
And then Chuck Norris comes in and talks to you when you die. That's just so funny.
He'll be like, "Better luck next time, kid."
Oh, okay.
Or like, why did I beat you this time? Why are you?
Yeah, why did I beat you this time? That killed me. Like I was just losing. I was like, really? This is so funny.
There's not enough of that.
So the multiplayer.
He wasn't even there. Like,
right,
it just came out of nowhere.
That's how Chuck Norris works.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's on a horse, you know?
Yeah.
But so the multiplayer is just a worse version of the campaign with friends. So take all that like jank that like David and I just mentioned, and add friends to it. And no progression. Other than like maybe buying slightly better weapons and trying to get to the next level, it's not worth like touching the multiplayer in my opinion.
You just multiply the jank once you add people to it.
Yeah, you just multiply the chance of someone shooting a cop in the back of the neck and just alerting the horde. It doesn't work out well.
And then the problem is the co-op missions, like we were trying to figure it out, but like you straight up like you have to restart at the very beginning. Like for some reason it's like we're going to put the roguelite element of you dying and having to restart in here, even though it literally doesn't matter in this instance because you're not actually earning anything.
Yeah.
And some of the missions will just plop you straight into like a combat situation. No choice for stealth, which
the second mission we spawned in, I guess.
Yeah,
like because we spawned in immediately behind a car with a bunch of cops shooting at us. Like that,
and an armored truck already broken open somehow.
Well, it wasn't already broken open. We had to put a saw on it.
Yeah, we had to drill it, but like, it's unpleasant.
Maybe we just didn't pay enough attention to the cutscene.
Yeah. I remember there was a mission in the campaign that was just a broken open like truck, and I was like, okay, I guess you'll steal this from me too.
Like this sounds like a conversation. Like if you didn't know any better, you'd be like, do you guys play video? Like, how do you guys not know like what's going? It's because it doesn't do anything like it's supposed to do. Like, we can't tell if it's intended or not. Yeah, because it doesn't lean into it enough, apparently. Like it doesn't make it obvious enough. That is wild.
Sadly.
Yeah. Also, the beginning of the campaign made me feel like I was having some kind of like mental breakdown because it jumps from like cutscene to cutscene to cutscene with barely any narrative threading, which I'm fine with them having like a short story, like very little story, just to like get you into the gameplay. But it feels like you're on a roller coaster without like the tracks at the bottom. So you're kind of just flung.
You got the entry part there, and then whatever happens after that. Yeah, Okay. Wow.
It's like,
All right.
here's a bunch of characters. Like, you don't know any of them. It acts like you do. And then
Okay.
now you're trying to become the Florida King, which is fine, I guess.
Gotcha. So it's
The
like the
top,
roller coaster.
the
You get
best
to the
Florida
top.
man.
The final Florida man.
Yeah. So you get to the top of the roller coaster, and then all of a sudden you're in a corkscrew, and then you're on a turn, and then you're on a loop. That's
Yeah,
kind of what it feels like.
yeah,
And then for some reason, I'm eating in a restaurant.
exactly.
I'm off the ride in a restaurant, going to the bathroom. There you go. Wow. That I hadn't heard very many. Actually, I don't think I've heard any good things, but I also hadn't really read the discourse about it. But to hear it now, wow, this sounds
Yeah.
really bad. Now I kind of want to play it just to see how bad it is.
There are some good aspects. I don't like. Like I said, it's like competently made.
Everything you have just described to me does not sound competently
But like
made.
when you fire the gun, it feels good.
Okay, so the guns feel
It looks
competently
good.
made.
Like if you press a button, it'll work for the most part.
I feel like when I look at it, I
Function.
see
Okay.
that there's potential that is here, but man, is it not realized. Like, this is more than just, oh, I see potential. It's that potential's in another state.
Yeah.
Like, it's there, but you would have to start at square one to get this game where it needs to be. Because it's literally like, it's like, oh, we want to make Payday, but we also want to make a like a crime boss thing, but we want it to be kind of campy, but we got to take it seriously, but we also want roguelike elements because people like roguelites.
Yeah.
I really hope they support this game a bit. Just like give it a little love. Fix.
I don't know if they'll have the money. I don't know they'll be able to last.
What, you're telling me crime boss Rockay City didn't pull in like $10 billion in its first week?
In all fairness, that's probably why they got as many big stars as they did, is to hope that would sway people.
Yeah.
To come in and grab the game just based on the star power behind the voices and stuff. So,
do you think that's what happened? Just like
it could have.
They looked at the game and were like, "Call Danny Trejo."
Bring in Machete.
This feels like those mobile games with those absurd advertisements. It's like, you know, they spent like millions of dollars on this to sell this little mobile game that people are going to play for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Didn't quite work out for them, though. That strategy didn't quite work out.
For them. Some you lose some.
Okay.
Well, I have like a few good things to note. Like, it's not all bad. I don't want people to think it's all bad. A lot of convenience features. Like, when you're playing defense, there's quite a bit to it. Like, first you have to eliminate the attackers attacking your plays. Then a captain will spawn. You have to kill him. He's highlighted, a nice convenience feature. When you're playing the game, you'll sometimes forget that like the rest of the game exists and start having a really good time.
When you get into the good gameplay loops, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
these are backhanded compliments.
True, but I think those are the only compliments I can give this game. So.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
So nothing that redeems Rockay City at this point.
Well, we were talking about our review system and how it's really well thought out, and the easiest spot that this probably belongs in is, I wouldn't call it good, but bad is probably a bit too harsh.
Really?
Yeah.
That doesn't it sounds bad to me. Does that sound like a game worth playing? All right. Well, any other thoughts on
the core like the core gameplay of like getting a crew together, gradually working to get them better weapons, playing through the heists. It all feels pretty good, but then you always run into that guard who won't get down on the ground, or like a security camera that just sees you, like the panopticon, always.
Yep.
And you're taken out of it. So, yeah.
Yep.
At any point, is any of this jank fun, though? So, for example, the cop that doesn't get down, does it sometimes feels like it spices up the mission in an enjoyable way?
No.
I feel like it's usually a dang it, and then you just move into, okay, let's just shoot everything.
You're like, dang it. And then you put them down, and you're like, okay, I was so close to completing this incomplete stuff. And this one minimum wage security worker, like on a Sunday, decided to play hero, and now I have to kill him. I feel bad.
That's hilarious. That's a good way to put it.
All right. All right. Well, that's Crime Boss Rockay City. Is your review out?
It will be, I'd say,
soon,
by weekend's end, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, you can look for that review on Gaming Trend. That'll be a read. That's for sure. I can't wait to read that one.
100 genre-defining game.
I'm curious to know what the genre is at this point.
Yeah, it's its own genre.
The genre of Florida man.
Yeah. Florida man. Yep.
Man, they could have.
FM.
I just wanted to become Florida King.
Yeah. I don't blame you. Who wouldn't want to become the king of Florida?
I want all the oranges.
Yeah. Is that a line?
that needs to be the tag. That needs to be the tagline for the review. I want all the oranges.
I think the current tagline is like, you gotta spend money to make money.
Makes sense.
That's what they tried to do. Who developed this again? Who was this?
I don't even know.
In parentheses, or hire Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
Crime Boss Rockay City. Somebody I've never heard of. In-game studios.
Like in game, like I am in game.
Like in game.
Yeah. Okay.
They have not done anything else as far as I can tell. Oh my word! There is a music video called "The Curly Simon," made by a guy named the Curly Simon, for this that we are going to have to watch after this podcast.
A game music video?
Yeah, it's like a music video from the original soundtrack. Oh my gosh!
Oh dear!
I
have to see what this is.
David,
how long is it? How long is it?
3 minutes.
We could watch it now, right?
Theoretically, we could.
Well, we might get copyright strikes for the video.
Yeah.
So.
Oh goodness. Okay.
I won't watch it without y'all though. We'll wait until the end of we'll get out of the podcast and we'll watch it.
To it.
Start downloading it now, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's Crime Boss Rockay City.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, the game I've been playing is Sifu, because they put in the Arenas update, which is basically a series of levels of wave-based objective missions where you're beating up folk. That hasn't changed. You're still beating up folk. So these missions, you could do anything from beat guys up in a certain time limit, beat guys up in very specific spots, and you have to hold that spot while you're beating the guys up. You have to beat guys up and stay as young as possible, because the Sifu mechanic is when you die, you grow in age. and that affects how much health you have and how strong you are. So, in case you don't know, Sifu is a roguelite.
Can you die of old age?
You can. 76, I think, is the highest age you can go. So you start at age 20. And so every time you die, you grow one age, but it multiplies based on how many deaths you have. So, for example, if you die twice, now you're going to grow 2 years in age. 3 times, 3 years in age. 4, and it just keeps going like that. So usually you can die up to 8 or 9 times, depending on the situation. In the story mode, you can reduce your age based on certain parameters. But
so you just become younger.
Yes, more or less. Not by a lot, but yeah, it is possible. Okay. You have to earn enough score and do specific things. But basically you have this like medallion, and it shatters a little bit as you age. So that's kind of like your indicator, like how many lives you have left. It's a fantastic game. It's my game of the year last year. It is brutal, though. It is very, very difficult game. And Arenas is absurdly difficult. It is very difficult. I love it, though. I think it works.
Cassie did not.
Cassie did not. No, and I completely disagree with Cassie on the review. So one of the things about it is it very quickly throws almost like the end of the story. Like they throw the really hard enemies to beat at you, and so they'll do a lot of blocking. It's hard to get combos on them, so there's a lot of poking and dodging and finding openings and things like that. So in the arenas, they can throw those enemies at you pretty quick. So you're trying to figure out how to do everything while either holding down a spot, trying to beat them in time, trying to keep yourself young, whatever the parameters are. And there's more I haven't even gotten through to yet, but it could get very overwhelming and very difficult very quickly. And so the thing about arenas is you can have success playing the way you played story, but generally you're going to have the most success by using the most efficient thing possible. And so if you're not familiar with what the most efficient thing is per level or per enemy, you're going to have a hard time having success. Part of that is in order to access other levels, you have to earn points, basically. Like I'll just call them chips. You can earn up to 3 chips, and you do it based on beating certain scores that the arena has set. So, it could be if you have to beat up enemies in a certain amount of time, they'll have the best score at like 140, the second best score at 2 minutes and 30, and the next score at like 320 or something like that. If you hit any of those markers, obviously you'll get the amount of chips based on that, and you can use those chips to access the next arena set. And there's 5 per set. Problem is, you could actually beat the level without getting a chip, and so if you needed like 1 chip left and that there's just one level that you're just having a real hard time on, like you got to figure out a way to at least get a chip. But there's enough levels where I think you can get enough to figure things out. And it's so difficult that as you move on, you start getting better at it. And so levels that you had trouble with earlier, you can go back to and have some more success once you figured out like, oh, okay, like these are the things I really need to do if I want to have success. So it's a very limiting style of play that you can do, because it is kind of like the top, kind of 10% style of play that you have to do. Like you cannot do whatever you want to do. You have to do the most efficient thing available, or you're just going to get pummeled most of the time. Like you're not going to earn what you need to earn to access the other ones. So I like the challenge. I can see why Cassie didn't like the challenge. I could see why other people didn't like the challenge. But I do think it's fair. I do think it's fair. I don't think there's situations where I'm like, oh man, like this is unbeatable. It's like, no, I keep using the same combos I've been using since I beat Sifu last year. So of course I'm not having success. I need to figure out a better move to tackle these enemies and use that. But if I don't, then yeah, I'm going to keep struggling with it. So it's a lot of fun. It is very difficult, but that's what Sifu is. If it is a very difficult game, and this just kind of expands on it. But if you are of the mindset where you wish you could use whatever you wanted to, you're not going to be able to do that. And that is a fair criticism if if you're looking for something like that.
Okay, so sounds like there's a meta to it.
Very much so. Yeah. So I forgot I had gameplay during it. Every time I talk about my own thing, I forget to put up my own gameplay.
Sorry, that's my fault too.
No, you're all good. Here, I could just play some, and you guys can see what it looks like at least. So, so might as well talk about the levels too. So it will actually take you through different levels that you play during the story mode. It's not essentially in sequential order. But in this, most of the ones, you're kind of like in this oval shape kind of arena thing, and you're fighting the enemies. In this particular one, like I'm going through different levels of an apartment and dealing with the enemies in there. So you go with very different methods, kind of changes the camera angle, kind of changes, how you go about fighting in smaller spaces, bigger spaces. So it does change up all that kind of stuff. And God, man, it's such a smooth game. Like these finishers and stuff are really good.
How's the parrying?
It's hard. You have to time it right. So there's the ability to deflect, which is kind of the parry, which is basically like you'll deflect what they do, and it kind of stuns them for a moment, and that gives you an opportunity to go in and kind of do a little bit of a combo. You also have the ability to avoid attacks. So it's kind of basically like a dodge. So they kind of swing, they'll miss. So you could do swing low for you can dodge low for high and mid attacks, and then you can kind of like lift your legs for low attacks or whatever. So like there, like I earned my chips, so I earned 2, so I could use those 2 if I needed them to unlock a different mission. But basically every set has 5, and they have different parameters. So this one is get the highest score in 4 sections. So you'll want to keep hitting people as much as possible, not get hit, so that way your score multiplier doesn't drop, and then try to get your highest score. So it really definitely tries to consistently make you play as efficiently as possible. Don't get hit. And this is all of them. Don't get hit. And see how long you can last. This one, they actually gave you a broom. So
how kind of them?
Yeah. So they'll do different things like that. I forget. I can't remember one mission, what they did, but one mission does start you off like old. And so you just kind of have to survive as long as possible. You'll basically like have 3 or 4 lives to get it done. The thing is, though, when you're older, you hit harder, which is sounds
an
backward.
Interesting system.
Yeah,
like you're more
it's a video game. Yeah, so the older you get, the less health you have, but the harder you hit. So that's kind of the trade-off. So sometimes there's kind of a benefit to getting older. Not that you want to, but if you're younger, like it's going to take a little bit longer to take down the enemies. So you have to be able to, deflect and avoid very well. So that way you can keep your health. So, yeah.
Can you control the camera angle?
Not on this.
Gotcha.
Yeah. This one is specifically made for that camera angle. So So you see, I died there, and I age by 1. I will die again, so you'll see how that works. But basically, I'll have died twice, and I was trying to wait for this guy. Well, if I die twice, I'll be age 43. So that's how the number works. So it's fantastic. I like it. It is very difficult. That's the way it should be. Oh, I might die here. Nope. All right, that's enough of that. So that's Sifu Arenas. You're beating people up. It's fun. It's hard. Let's talk now. Call of Duty.
Call of
Season
Duty
3 is out. We know who played that one. David.
Yep. And people are not happy. And I'm a bit disappointed in the Call of Duty community. They tend to be crybabies a lot, but this is like just another level of it. They're devs getting death threats, and I have at that point I lose any sort of backing you in what you're upset about, and that's how it always should be with any of it, because there's no point to attacking people over the fact that you don't like what they've done in a video game. That's just no point in it.
Yeah.
But there are definitely people are frustrated because of certain things that have changed with Call of Duty. The movement's changed in this one, which I prefer. I like kind of the more slow pace to everything. Could I slide cancel? Yes, but I prefer not smacking a bunch of buttons on the back of my controller every 2 seconds. They've changed a lot of those things. There's no red dots in the minimap. Warzone, people have been frustrated with certain things, which they've been frustrated ever since Verdansk left. And lots of different things. The devs had a call with a lot of the big name influencers, talked to them about the potential of some of the changes that were incoming. And the bigger name influencers were happy. They were kind of relaying their happiness of, hey, you know, we feel like we're being heard.
Okay.
And then the update comes out, and a lot of the stuff is very minimal. Some stuff almost negligible, which I don't know that anything was going to be completely fixed at the very launch of the season. Some stuff may change mid-season. And then they did say some stuff was just misinterpreted during the call.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, they had talks with influencers about changes that they wanted to make. The influencers heard it and went, sounds great. We like the sound of that.
Yep.
By the time season 3 and the patch comes out, is it that the changes, they made all the changes the influencers wanted, or they made some of the changes and those changes weren't enough? They needed all of the changes.
I think some of it is that it was some of the changes, which obviously the season 3 is not over. There's going to be a mid-season update. So I'm assuming that that's probably working itself into this.
Sure.
So that's part of it. I also think that they're not going to completely change this into Modern Warfare 2019 or into Black Ops 2, which is what I think a lot of people want this to be. And some changes just aren't going to happen overnight. Like some of the changes that were brought up was like TTK, time to kill in Call of Duty. Everybody knows is, I mean, seconds. Like if it even lasts a second, sometimes you get burned so fast it's just whatever. That the talk was just that, you know, they were going to work on the guns and stuff to maybe that would be the way that you could increase TTK, essentially, is to make the guns so that they're not as blisteringly ridiculous. Now, the biggest thing with that is you've got to adjust a whole lot of guns, in my mind, when you look at that. That's not a single patch update. So I think that some of these guys got really hopeful. And then these beginning changes, because Raven has pretty much come back and gotten on board with Warzone. and they're fully onto this project. And I think that some people were just overly over the top on, okay, that's going to do it. And then, of course, you have influencers who say, look, I'm looking forward to this. I feel like we were heard in the call. And then it's not the huge step that everybody sees. And so then all of the community is up in arms because, oh my gosh, they didn't completely change this game in one update. Yeah. And they're even, it's not just the devs getting death threats. They're actually threatening the influencers and trash talking and they're like, oh, we see it only takes a $10 mouse pad because they sent out a bunch of mouse pads to people. Like, oh, we see it's just a $10 mouse pad is all that you need to be bought. Stuff like that. And it's like, no, sometimes you can just be positive for the sake of being positive. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
The fact of not everybody has to be negative about everything. If the developers are talking about changes that they're trying to make, again, you don't just overnight make a humongous change. But you also don't usually get humongous changes when it comes to some of these games because the initial vision is different, is not what they wanted to change it from. So they're going to adjust it, but it's not going to be this night and day difference. And I think that's part of the issue with some of these things. That being said, I am enjoying so far some of the content that they've dropped in Season 3. I got to mess around a bit with the multiplayer. One of the maps, I forget exactly what I think it's Paleo's Lighthouse or something like that. It's a really interesting map because it's different than all the other maps that we currently have in Modern Warfare because it is a map that's this island with a house on it with a lighthouse there. And
is it based on that one sniper level?
It's
the name of it.
It's not, I don't believe.
Okay.
This is like a much more smaller island.
Okay.
Because it's a map-sized island.
Sure, yeah, I wasn't sure if they like took a portion of that level
gotcha.
and turned it into a map.
No, they didn't do it on that one. But the neat thing with this is it's happening more at night and it's raining.
Interesting.
So it's a lot darker of a map. This isn't a map that you're going to see in any sort of competitive mode, I don't believe. But it's a fun, different kind of map.
Yeah.
I don't care for it as much in Team Deathmatch because it's very hard to find people because it is a good site. Like, what's funny is they say it's a smaller map. It's not really super small, but it feels like it's very easy to miss people. Or for people to just take up position in the house and then you never see anybody. Because I was trying to upgrade the sniper, which we'll talk about in a second, the new sniper, and I just couldn't see. I had like 2 kills. About like 3/4 through the game. So I had to switch over to an actual assault rifle just to run in and get some kills. Just so I didn't end the map with 2 kills. But it was really cool just seeing this different atmosphere to a map than just the standard. Like I love the Modern Warfare style of map. Like just usually they've got that. I hate to say it's like, oh, that gray, you know, industrial kind of feel to it or whatnot, because it's all like most of it's on like, you know, roads and buildings that are broken down and all that kind of stuff. It's just I just like the Modern Warfare era of maps. But it feels a little bit different, and I like it. It's a good map. The other one, and I can't remember the name of it for the life of me right off the bat, but it's based off of Rohan Oil, which is a Warzone location on the Al Mazrah map, and it is actually a night map. Like, literally a night map where you actually have night vision goggles.
Oh, wow.
When you go in. Yeah, so it's not night vision in the sense of like, oh, I can only see in front of me, but it's pretty much everything's got that green tinge to it and everything. Every gun you spawn in with automatically has a laser with a canted sight on it.
Yeah.
So, like, even if you don't have it equipped, it's automatic. Like the game automatically equips it. So you're running around this level, and obviously you can see lasers everywhere.
Terrifying.
And so you're having to just guess when you're doing some things is, okay, where's this laser coming from? It's a good sized map. There's not a lot of positions that I watched that I was like, okay, this is just straight up. You can get up here and just spend the whole game here. There's one spot where it's kind of this tower-ish area that can become a bit of a power position, but I was able to dislodge them pretty easily. But it was fun running around, trying to do my best to not pop my laser out there for people to see, because it only if you're aiming down sight does it pop up.
Oh, okay.
So just a lot of fun running around and trying something that was different. Like I won't say that it's something that I just want to play all the time, but it's a really neat change of pace. Like it's not just the same. Okay, I'm playing deathmatch on a regular map.
No,
like,
it makes.
I want more good maps.
A little bit differently.
Yeah, I want more good maps in the game, more well-built maps. But at the same point, I like what this map is doing.
Yeah.
So a lot of fun messing around with that. It's like I said, it's a good change of pace. I'm really interested to see if they decide to, since you've already built this way, I wonder if it's possible to just put a day mode in and let it be played regularly. I don't know that that's their intention with it. But the nice thing is we do have another map that is actually coming in mid-season updates. So that's 3 maps that are all brand new, and all of at least these first 2 have a very distinct feel to them that's different from the core game. So for 6v6 at least, I'm very happy as a Call of Duty player, even though like I love playing ranked, but the map set in ranked is really good right now. Like there's some maps I could take them or leave them, and there's some better maps that I know that are out there that I would like to see. Like if they could figure out a way to get real terminal in the game, if they could get some of these other ones, I'd love to see them in the rotation. But you know what? Right now we're actually in a decent spot as far as competitive, so I'm not going to be mad about it.
Sure.
But you know, we all know that I ranted last season about how the only maps we got was Dome, which was a remake of a map that was already remade in Vanguard, and I was mad because we had a map that was in beta that got pulled out for legal reasons and got added back in as a, hey, here's something new.
What were the legal reasons?
It actually is a actual museum that it was based off of. So they had to make some changes. And as someone who spends a lot of time playing 6v6 multiplayer, you're never happy when the only offerings you get is something you've already played and something that really, in my opinion, should not be in this game. Because that map is just not very good, Dome. So, like, this season, 3 new maps. Like, very, very happy right now. The third one is, I think it's a hatcheries map, which it might have something to do with the island, the sniper level, because I think there's a hatcheries area for that, so they may base it off of that. So very, very excited to see 6v6, how it continues on. There's also 2 new weapons. One of them, which people will be very excited about, is the FJX Imperium sniper rifle. And the reason people are going to be excited about it is it's actually technically the intervention from Call of Duty of old, which everyone loves that sniper rifle. So I am like, I love messing around with new sniper rifles. They don't always love me. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten what's the word for it? Hit markers with sniper rifles. And sometimes you just are trying to find that right build. This one, though, it's a bolt action heavy sniper. And anytime you get one of those, for the most part, you're getting kills. It don't matter. You shoot the guy anywhere, he's dead. And one of the cool things that they have done with they've done it with Warzone. I'm not sure if that has kind of been exacerbated in multiplayer, but they have actually made it that the bolt action sniper rifles in Modern Warfare 2, right at the beginning with Warzone, no weapon was one shot kill. Like you couldn't down anybody with a single shot. Now, if you equip explosive ammo on the bolt action snipers, the heavy snipers, it is an instant down with these rifles. I am very happy to have that back. They did say that, you know, you got to be good when you're hitting it. This isn't like, oh, I hit him in the toe. You know, he's down. You've got to get some good shots on these, but I'm really happy to see skill-based weaponry making its way into Warzone, because that just, not everybody can pick it up. Not everybody can use it. The sniper itself, though, it just feels good to use so far. I've been using a blueprint, so I don't have the exact right feel, I don't feel like, yet. I've not used it enough to be able to unlock a lot of the attachments and changes around. But I like the way the sniper feels. It has a really good shot. It reminds me of how I felt using the Victus XMR. When I was leveling that up. That's another one of the bolt actions, is it just felt like I was just, you'd hit somebody and you're like, yeah, that's the kill shot right there. There's some snipers, you shoot a guy, you're like, okay, I got the kill. This is it just feels good to hit a guy with it. And that's what Call of Duty is known for, is it's the best gunplay out there. When you shoot a gun, it feels good. And they made the intervention feel good. The other rifle is actually a battle rifle, and it's called the Cronin Squall. I don't remember what weapons class it's in. I have hated the battle rifle so far in this game. Like, I've absolutely, the F-TAC Recon, the 7.62 Lockman, all these different ones that are just like, I'm like, what is the point? It's like you took my assault rifle and then you took away, like, you made it so that it could be an auto, but also that I've got like half the magazine, and it's a little bit more powerful than if I was using an AR, but it's not as powerful as if I'm using a marksman rifle. So I don't know who this is for, because I hate them. I don't hate the Cronin Squall, though. It's actually a good feeling battle rifle, and it doesn't have a ton of ammo, and I'm sure you can probably get better magazines and stuff like that for it to help with that, but I'm really happy because it starts out automatic, because no other battle rifle so far has started auto. You'd have to get in the match and change it. Like, literally, I ran around with the F-TAC Recon, which is essentially it's the Lockman, the MP5 variant, is a battle rifle. I literally built that thing into an MP5 and ran around to level it up. Like, I literally used it as a submachine gun.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way with this gun. Like, I actually was using the base version of the gun with no attachments or anything and was having a blast with it. And it's a battle rifle that actually kills within the first couple of shots. So I also don't feel like I'm just having to empty clips constantly, which is very easy to do on a battle rifle. The only big issue I have with it is you just don't got a lot of ammo. But I'll deal with that when it's got good range, when it's got a good feel to the shots. And, like, honestly, half the time I forgot and I was just single shotting it instead of using the auto, because it's actually sensitive enough that you won't just empty your clip by pressing it once. You won't shoot a couple bullets. You can single shot without switching to semi, and
Okay.
it's a good feeling gun. So I'm really happy. So I never thought that in a season where all I got was a sniper and a battle rifle, that I would be happy. And I'm happy, like, because I'm most people that know me, that play the game with me, I like my ARs, I like my SMGs, and I generally stick with whatever, like, with one of them, because right now I pretty much, because I play a lot of ranked, so I use the TAC 56 and the Vaznev SMG. So like, again, like I've had different guns, assault rifles and stuff I've played. I've leveled it up just because it was the new thing for the season, and then I've literally just chucked it. Both of these, the sniper may actually make its way into my rotation as one of my snipers I use. I like it so much, which it's, again, the intervention. A lot of people love that one. But the battle rifle is actually really good, and I'm super surprised because I did not expect that at all.
Nice. Okay. So there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah. Especially if you're a 6v6 player, you should be really happy. But people, stop dogging the devs. They're people too. They're working. I mean, people do not understand how long it takes. Not just developing a video game, but updating, especially updating a video game. Because it's not just I press a button and this all changes.
Yep, they make demands. They don't care how the sausage is made, and they just whine. So, you know,
as a Battlefield player, I get that. That a lot. Yeah.
We gotta wait for a whole new game. Battlefield 2042 is never going to cut it. But you know what? You know what I did?
Battlefield. I think it can be a great game, but I don't think it can be the best Battlefield game.
No. But you know what? I just stopped playing. I didn't get the devs' death threats. Stopped playing.
Good. Yeah. Same human thing to do.
Which obviously Go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna, I guess it's different if Call of Duty is the only thing you play, but go play a different Call of Duty. You don't like to go play 2019. Jeez, you just like that one so much.
Well, it's like, if you look at Steam, the number 3 top selling item right now is the new Battle Pass, which it's its own thing. Like they've got and it's because it's a real money item.
Yeah.
And and it's a $30 like specialty Battle Pass, which I guess I'll talk about that for a quick second. But like, obviously the casuals aren't concerned about this. It's just the minority of the community are the ones that are so upset right now, because
it's the casual minority of the community. That's it's the ones who pay attention just enough, but they're still casual. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some hardcore people in there too, of course, but
a lot of the hardcore are the ones that are yelling so much.
Of course.
I mean, you're always going to hear the voice that's screaming.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, but the Battle Pass, the new Battle Pass, I actually don't mind it. It's so what they used to do, and a lot of different companies have done it, is if you could spend either the lowest amount, which is usually about $10, or the equivalent of points, and that's just the Battle Pass itself. Well, then everybody has the bigger version, which was somewhere between $25-$30, that it skipped you ahead essentially. In the Battle Pass, and they get, essentially it was the, hey, we'll bundle these skips with your Battle Pass for a cheaper. Yeah, essentially for a cheaper amount up front.
Overwatch is doing a similar thing as well.
Yeah. They have made a Battle Pass that they call the Black Cell, and it's replacing this tier skip bundle. It is $30. It is only real world money. You cannot use any sort of COD points to purchase this. Now, what you get in benefit of it is you do get your tier skips and your Battle Pass, which, you know, that was automatic. That was already costing $25, even if it was only COD point. Even if you could just use COD points at that point, it would still be in that area. However, they're also giving 12. They're also doing, I believe, 12 operator skins that are specialty, and they're actually really cool looking. A new operator. They're actually giving you different areas that you can come into the Battle Pass with. So, like, for instance, most Battle Passes, it's from point A to point B. And then with the new way that they did the Fortnite style of Battle Pass, where you could choose kind of the path you were taking. So you'd still have to start at Section 1, but you could go to Section 2 or Section 3. essentially is how they were handling the battle pass this time. It was a map.
Still get all the awards.
You still would get all the awards in the same amount of time, because there were essentially what they did was they went with 20 sectors that each had 5 items in them. So instead of 100 tiers, it was these different sectors on a map. And what you would do is you would earn a tier coin instead of unlocking it just procedurally. You would earn a coin and you would decide where that coin goes.
I don't hate that. Like,
no, you kind of get to you get to unlock what you want, essentially.
Yeah.
The only thing with those maps is you can only unlock what is close to what you've already unlocked. So everybody has to start at number 1, but then you could choose to go towards number 2 or number 3, which were next to number 1.
It still sounds like it like deals with a lot of the linearity. I was playing Battlefield and just like there was this charm I want for like the gun, but I had to go through a bunch of skins that just weren't applicable to the guns I used.
So essentially you could look at it the same way as, like, let's say that charm was at level 50 in the Battlefield Pass. Let's just say that, for instance.
That's about what it was.
Oh, gotcha. Well, in Call of Duty, because of the way they had it set up, you might be able to get there by like 25 because you could take a shorter route on the map to it as opposed to going in a line. So you have a little bit. So what they've actually done with this black cell is they've added 5 different entry points on it as opposed to just 1. So now you can literally choose even more so where you are actually coming into the battle pass. So you're kind of paying for the opportunity to unlock things even earlier, certain weapons and stuff like that, even earlier with the battle pass. Beyond the fact of they're also giving you $10 worth of points as well. So really, it's a good value. I wish you could use COD points on it. I get why you can't, because literally you'd only have to buy it once, and then you would automatically have enough points for the next season to buy it again, just about.
A lot of battle passes do that.
Yeah. I get letting you have the base pass for just points, but I understand, like, do I love the fact of having to spend $30 for it? No. Will I buy it because I'm a heavy-duty Call of Duty person and I love having, and the skins look nice? Yes, because the skins look nice. If the skins didn't look nice, I wouldn't buy it. Because honestly, that's the reason I did it. It's just because that was the way to unlock it. Like, all the other things didn't matter as much. I appreciate having the extra COD points and stuff, but
Quick question. Can you unlock stuff from previous seasons, like previous seasons battle passes, or are they locked away?
They are locked. Every season it completely resets the season.
Vaulted?
Yes. Well, they're vaulted.
Yeah.
I don't like
completely.
You had to be there stuff. That's why I stopped playing Destiny.
Yeah. I spend enough time in COD that it's always worth it for me. So that's at least where I am with that fair. Specifically. Yeah. So, like, if I didn't spend a lot of time playing it, I wouldn't bother buying it. But this essentially, the black cell stuff is, it's more or less a, hey, if you're a hardcore player, if you feel like this, if you're going to spend money on COD points anyway, you might as well buy this. That's really what it boils down to, is if you want an exclusive operator, if you want a bunch of extra COD points, buy this. And to me, it's like the value's at least there for a player who's already invested in the battle pass, or is already, especially if you're already spending the money for the skips. The only thing that stinks is you have to use real world money every season. Like, there's no, I earn the points, I can use those.
Maybe at a discount at the end of the battle pass,
Yeah. Well, a lot of times they do something like that, but I would imagine that it's probably just gonna, it's $30. It's there if you want it. But really, if you don't start, honestly, for the most part, if you don't start the season and go ahead and buy it at the beginning, you're probably not going to get the value out of it, because you're going to have to play quite a bit to be able to earn everything. The main thing that I was going to bring up along with the battle pass is the thing that's a little more slimy, and it's that they changed around DMZ. So has anybody here played an extraction shooter?
Briefly.
I've seen them played.
Yeah.
Okay. So essentially with extraction shooters, obviously you go in with what you have and you come out with what you have if you escape. If you don't escape, you die, you lose all your stuff. Generally, you have one person, you have one character that you're doing all of this with. So there's no way of kind of saving your progress, I guess, would be the easiest point. Call of Duty has actually changed around the way that DMZ works in that you have 3 operators now. So you have 3 different operators you can send in at a time. Each you could choose who you want to go in and kind of almost outfit each operator specifically. Like, I'm leveling this guy up because I'm tackling this mission, or I'm leveling this guy up because I'm tackling this mission. I don't want to lose, or I don't want to take this guy in because he has this item which I need for this mission, and I'm not doing that one today. So I think that is a cool idea. It's a good thing for the casual audience, because it does kind of offer almost a save for you if you want to keep playing, but you don't want to lose certain things. However, there is a 4th slot, and it is locked unless you buy a bundle.
Okay.
I don't necessarily mind giving someone the opportunity to buy an additional bundle for an extra slot. It's kind of odd, but okay. My biggest issue is this bundle comes with extra stuff for DMZ.
So you like drop in with stuff automatically if you buy this bundle.
If you buy this bundle, like, yeah. So it's like, for instance, you get the current bundle is the bomb operator, and he has a medium-sized backpack automatically when you go in. They've already showed off other bundles that are coming to the store. Some of them didn't have like these heavy duty things, but one of them has a UAV, which is what you can use to, yeah, I mean, like, that's, at that point, to me, it's getting a little too pay to win.
UAV
because
like reveal everywhere, right?
As far as I understand, yes, UAVs reveal positions on the map. To me, at that point, you're really pushing kind of the slimy microtransactions kind of stuff, because paying for an extra slot, yeah, that kind of sucks. I get it, though. I can at least deal with that, but being able to completely get additional items that I would have to grind and search for inside a game, especially ones that are as valuable as UAVs, because UAVs are, A, they're not easy to find. B, even if you get to a buy station with a good amount of money that you have grinded hard for, there's actually not a guarantee that there will be a UAV at the buy station. So it's not like it's this easily available item. It's one that sometimes you're just hoping you come across it, or you're just hoping you manage to be able to buy it. When you give people items like that, it just feels wrong.
So
because it's a game-changing thing too.
If you buy the bundle, drop into DMZ, you got the UAV, you use the UAV. If you die, do you lose the UAV?
I don't know that specifically, but I'm assuming it is a single-use item.
So I feel like if you buy it and you lose it, I guess that kind of levels itself. Like,
yeah. Well, it's just the idea that somebody spawns in automatically with an advantage because they paid for it.
Yeah.
And that's a huge problem for the early game. Absolutely. Like, I'm not denying that.
Can you buy the bundle multiple times?
I
So
don't
you're just
believe so. I do think it is a single purchase. So,
okay.
and again, I don't understand everything with it. The UAV, I would assume, is, single use. They've got self revives that they've found that some people have had, stuff like that. So,
Yeah, if it's single use, you can only buy it one time. It feels bad, but I do feel like it doesn't feel nearly as bad as it could be, because the one thing you still have to have is skill.
yeah.
Because you can find somebody on the map. I mean, we've seen it in Call of Duty all the time. Just because you got the UAV doesn't mean you're going to get all the kills, right?
Yeah.
So, but that is a big problem for the early game. That's a problem.
Well, and I guess my biggest issue is it's DMZ, which is a mode where for instance, I just spent all my hard work and time grinding up for a specific mission that I'm trying to do. I've worked tirelessly for a long time. Suddenly a UAV goes off and a dude shoots me across the map with a sniper. All of my hard work was undone because a guy paid $10 in Call of Duty points and got a UAV instantly. Like, I get that it can be, anybody could pop a UAV and I could lose that. But we're talking like he paid for the ability to be able to do this. Again, it's not like I lost to a guy because he worked really hard for it.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Which you definitely be able to tell that if it's in the early game, because it's like, okay, nobody should have a UAV at this point. But I think it goes to show you what kind of mode DMZ is to Activision. It's not a serious mode. It's not Tarkov. So it doesn't sound like balance is, I wouldn't say it's not a high priority, apparently.
So you have to put in a lot of work in an unbalanced game mode?
Well, it's not necessarily an unbalanced game mode. It's just the fact that it's in an extraction shooter. You start with nothing unless you get out with stuff. So like it's kind of that whole thing of it's almost always going to be unbalanced, but your usual point of what you're doing is you do missions inside and then you extract before the timer runs out. Okay. So you're actually trying to stay alive. Like, I can't tell you how many times, like, obviously Warzone, you're always fighting people in a battle royale. Like, there's no moments where you just stop. There have been multiple times in DMZ that we've had people pull up close to us, and I've used proximity chat and said, "Hey, we're friendly," and they've just let us go. Like, we've not shot at each other or anything because we all understand the stakes at hand are, if I lose my stuff, it's gone. Like, if I don't extract, this is done.
Yeah.
So that it's more the fact of the stakes suddenly don't matter. Some of the stakes don't matter because I paid for an extra benefit.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's really it for Call of Duty Season 3 that I've done so far. I'm sure I'll put a lot more time in this weekend.
Yeah, there's a lot to that there. So it's full bloated Season 3. So I mean, that's good. All right. We got one more game to talk about, and that is XDefiant.
Defiant.
The closed beta started today. There's no NDA. You can show footage.
Yay, which we're doing right now.
Yeah, so I'm playing. Mind you, I'm going to be completely upfront and honest here. Okay? I am good at Overwatch. I am terrible at anything related to Call of Duty. And this
He's not terrible. You've done pretty well when you've played with us.
I am terrible when I play Call of Duty. Okay, my standards are high, and I do not meet my standards for good gunplay. Now, I will say this particular match, I played decent. All right, so it won't be a horrible watch. But point is, XDefiant is a cross of Call of Duty and Overwatch. There are objective-based games like a payload type of thing, like you would find in Overwatch. and this is a domination match. The only thing I could find was domination. And for some reason, I was queuing for all the modes, and domination was the only one coming up. So either domination was the one everybody was playing, or nobody was playing it. So, so when all the other lobbies were full, we just took out. The game was just like, here, nobody's playing domination right now. We'll put all of you guys in there. So you won't see those kind of modes, but it's a hero-based shooter based on some Tom Clancy properties. They got some Far Cry 6 type of characters. They got Watch Dogs in there, and basically these characters have abilities. So I'm playing the Echelon, and they can go invisible for 8 seconds or so. And so while you're invisible, you're cloaked, I guess. So you can kind of see like the little like watery image if you're looking close enough. But that's that ability. One
kind of like Halo's invisibility.
Yeah, exactly. What was, I forget who uses the shield, but another class group uses a shield. Another group will have like a flamethrower drone type of thing, like different drones they can use. So all these classes have different abilities that they could use to, change the tide of battle and all that. So fundamentally, it is Call of Duty mixed with Overwatch. So that doesn't sound bad. Like I know that was weird, but that was way behind the wall. We'll get to the latency in a second, but
which they are working on, by the way.
On paper, if you told me, hey, we're gonna make a game that's as fast and frenetic as Call of Duty with Overwatch modes, I'd be like, okay, like I'll listen to that. I'm in. And then here you go, XDefiant. It's fine. I know I said I'm dogging it at the intro, but it's fine. It does play well. I would say it probably plays better than Rockay City.
Maybe a little.
But yeah, probably a lot. But it's just not actually that interesting. Like on paper, it sounds like a fantastic idea. In execution, it's really not that interesting. Let's take the abilities between Overwatch and what's happening in XDefiant. Part of the reason why Overwatch works so well is because there has to be a lot of synergy between the characters in order for success. In XDefiant, like individuals can pretty much carry the game, which is not possible in Overwatch, but very much possible in Call of Duty. So how much do these abilities matter? Not a whole lot. It doesn't really change the flow of battle so much that these abilities need to be used. I keep having something in my throat. Like, it's weird.
You said there's a flamethrower drone?
Something like that.
Yeah. Invisibility? That sounds like a lot of like cheese deaths occur.
Honestly, not a lot. Like it really doesn't.
Yeah.
They aren't OP. They definitely aren't OP.
Yeah, they're balanced enough, and I think that's actually part of the problem. The cooldowns are probably too long for them to actually matter for team play. So you're essentially playing the game like Call of Duty with some abilities. So if you were to take some of these abilities and apply them to Call of Duty, yeah, it would change the game a little bit, but not so much that like they could make their own mode and it'd just be like, okay, there you go.
And they already did that. It was called Black Ops 4.
This is true. Yes.
It's not the same abilities, but the idea of having abilities.
It's not as deliberate as this, though. It's not as hero shootery as because there's still ultimates in this also. So like one of the ultimate for Echelon literally reveals all the players on the map for you. The downside is you can only use a pistol. So I don't know if I.
It's a pretty powerful pistol though.
Like a mini map hack or like a wall hack kind of deal?
No, like
it's
a wall
like
hack.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see outlines of the enemy bodies. They're kind of like
it's not for super long either. So
No,
unless you're close to them, it's not going to do much for you.
Okay.
Yeah. But it does reveal them, so you can position yourself differently. You just have a pistol, and it's a strong pistol, but
it's another one of those things of just like any ultimate in Overwatch, you have to know how you're using it.
Yep.
To get use out of it.
Yeah. I actually do have it, so I probably do pop it at some point. But yeah, I mean, if you look at this gameplay, like this is how people move around, you know, this is domination. So like, this is fundamental. Like everybody knows how to play domination. You know, capture 2 points, hold those, you know, don't flip the spawns, you know, all that kind of stuff.
There's a better spawn. Don't lose it.
yeah. So
here you go. Here's where you
like
use
right here is the ultimate. So I see the person coming, but you know, latency. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, they actually did address that they had some issues with the netcode, so they're working to fix it.
And they've had issues with the netcode since even before we could show footage and all that. But yeah, it doesn't seem like it's changed that much. In terms of quality netcode, there was a match I played after this where, I mean, I was dying before they were even looking at me and shooting, right? So
wow.
We're talking about that level of latency, people gliding across the ground instead of actually running. There's, you know, that common type of thing that you'll see. But overall, it just feels like a mediocre free-to-play game. There's not a whole lot going for it. Still, I was hoping there would be more changes, but this is what they're sticking with, and I commend them for that. There are a lot of people excited on Twitter about it.
Mainly the people who are mad at season 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, who's gonna play this? The people who are mad at Call of Duty for the moment.
Yep, partially because this has no SBMM. There's no skill-based matchmaking in this. It's going to have rank play. It's going to have 14 maps, and it uses a lot of the movement systems that we've seen in stuff like Black Ops and stuff. That's really what it feels like they're going for, is let's use what people want, what the hardcore community wants out of COD, because they've actually got pros on staff. So
yep, yeah, they've and that's the thing, when you play it, it feels good. Like the shooting, the movement, all of that feels.
That was a nice
good.
trip cap for y'all to win that, by the way.
Yeah, we needed that. It feels good, but it just doesn't really amount to something interesting. Like on paper, again, it feels good, but once you start actually playing, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, because everything, there's not a lot of synergy between all the stuff, and so it doesn't make it all that interesting from a team perspective. If you are really just interested in just getting in there and just owning everybody, oh, okay, fine, yeah, it will hold some appeal because it does feel good. But if you're interested in the synergy between the abilities and what factions you choose and how to move the payloads and do all that stuff, there's not a lot of that. I wish I had video footage of the payload stuff, but I can just describe what happens. Typically, there's a couple of people who are pushing the payload, and then there are, 3 others who are just running around like you would in domination, trying to find a position to keep the enemies off the payload. But nobody's really like working together and
Yeah.
synergizing abilities to create an advantage for themselves. It
I
is
wonder
map
if some of this would
positioning.
be just a lot better if you know, booted in with several friends. Like, if that would make things a little bit better.
I don't know if it would, because it doesn't feel like there's a need for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't feel like, hey, you know, if I follow the guy who has the shield and I'm the one with the cloak, if we combine our and synergize our strategies together, we can really put some people down. Like, it doesn't feel like that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
It just feels like, hey, you got good aim, great. I don't. I'll cloak. You go in there first, and I'll come in and clean anything up. You know, like that's about
Yeah.
probably the furthest kind of synergy. Okay, I'll follow the shield guy. All right, he'll do his thing, but you know, it still doesn't feel like there's a lot of moments where it's like, this is your role, this is your role, this is your role. All right, let's work together. So it feels like if you play Call of Duty and you respect the roles like different types of players have for that game, you'll have success.
Yep. And that might be what's happening is in the incubation of this, it's become more of the competitive arcade shooter than hero shooter, in the sense of like the direction, like the abilities are there, but they've almost been abandoned.
Yeah,
to a degree.
I wouldn't
I
say
wonder if
they're
that changed.
Well, it didn't feel like that originally either. Like, it just felt like, okay, we have abilities, but what are we actually using them for?
Maybe they planned more for them, and then it never went anywhere.
Maybe. But yeah, it feels like Call of Duty players who really love Call of Duty and the flavor that it has, they want to kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I guess the more traditional version of Call of Duty, I suppose. They want to bring that back.
What they think is traditional Call of Duty.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. The purest form of Call of Duty. I'll call it that.
That's a good way of putting it.
So they bring that, and then they're like, okay, well, what can we do to make it different? Let's add abilities. All right. Great, you did that. All right. And here we are, XDefiant. Yep. Would I play it? Sure. Yeah, I'll play it. It's fine. It's fun. Yep. But there's a lot left on the table in terms of how far this can go, in terms of being a game that feels like Call of Duty, but actually has some real difference to it.
Yeah.
The meaningful difference to it.
Understandable. Yeah. I know for me, like playing it, like I ended up playing a lot of the role of I end up playing a lot of what I do in Call of Duty, of playing the roamer who goes around and clears the path, keeps people, like you were talking about, keeping people off the payload. I've got the SMG. I'm flanking. I'm trying to cause havoc to where they're looking at me instead of the payload.
Yeah.
So my teammates can push everything up. But since I played a lot by myself, I may have done well with that role, but there were sometimes I was just getting fried because, you know, I'm the only one actually playing a role where everybody else is just going for trick shots with snipers.
Yeah, and then at the end of the day, how much of your abilities actually made a difference for you to be able to play that role better?
Yeah, I'll admit the cloaking, that's super useful for a flanking player.
I agree, because that's kind of I'm trying to pull that off myself.
Whereas like shield, very good for somebody pushing the payload,
right?
Because you can kind of so it's some of it I think is just, man, there's a lot of just straight up teamwork, like you said. If you're gonna get to synergy, it's not like that, like it's gonna work every single time, but
sure, yeah,
it's the same as knowing what gun to pick up when you're playing a specific map. Because I know I would talk to my dad all the time of, why the heck are you using a submachine gun when you're up in a crow's nest on a boat that has great sight lines? You're not going to hit the broadside of a barn because you're using an SMG.
Right.
Pull out the AR. Like, I get the feeling that the abilities, like, maybe it'll take some time to learn. And once again, it may just not work right at all. but maybe there's a way to find those synergies of, okay, we're doing this, so we need to switch to this. We're playing, we're at the end, so maybe instead of flanking, maybe I need to switch over to a shield guy as well, build that up for that final push. Like, kind of the same thing. Sometimes you got to pull out Doomfist because you got to make sure you get the overtime, man. You gotta fly out of spawn and get there for the overtime. So it's some interesting thoughts, and I'll have to play it some to really get some better ideas. I know it probably hasn't changed a lot, but I'd like to get more time with it again to really be able to flesh out thoughts.
I think the speed might have something to do with it too. Like it's just so fast. It's hard to coordinate on the fly without communication.
It's a lot more reactionary compared to, I'm not saying that Overwatch isn't, it's just that Overwatch, you can coordinate a lot more of what you're doing before engagements. Yeah. Where Call of Duty, it's almost instinctual what you're doing. Yes. Like you're just reacting to the situation at hand. That's what makes a good player usually, is I react better than the other guy.
Yes, 100%. I think the thing with Overwatch, when you pick a character, the role is not obviously the role is like clearly defined: tanks, damage, supports, but like what kind of abilities you have are just implied by the character you're using. So you're already thinking like, oh, okay, we know Winston jumps in from afar. He's got this kind of shield. All right.
Yeah.
I know how to play around that. When you have like the shield people for this and the echelon folk with the cloaks and drones flying around, it's like, all right, like I know what these things do. But because
since everybody's using guns and stuff, that's a level playing field, whereas the abilities aren't.
Right. Yeah. So,
it's almost like there's a meta inside a meta, like that you're having to figure out.
It kind of does feel like that, and I'm wondering if there will be a time where actually, well, Ubisoft.
I hadn't really thought about it like that.
Ubisoft had a little thing that happened today as this recording earlier. So I'm wondering if the people who were playing that actually like applied the abilities in a way that's more interesting than what's happening just playing with randoms in the closed beta. I need to watch
I would guarantee it, because they are almost every single one of them is former pro players.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering.
So I would almost guarantee that they've probably been playing this for a second, so they probably have. I'm sure they coordinated, because some of it they had some. Some of these guys had some bragging rights on the line from previous matchups.
No, okay.
In the Call of Duty League. So
yeah. So if I watch that and it turns out to be just what I'm seeing playing the closed beta, then to me, I'm like, there's no hope for the interesting aspects of this game. I think David and I agreed in talking about it in the past that there was some really latent potential in this.
Yeah.
Some things needed to be changed. I don't think those things have changed, but it still looks like there's really latent potential in this. It just doesn't seem like it's going to be realized by the type of people who will play this game, because it is so much like Call of Duty. All right, I'm done.
Makes sense.
That's XDefiant. That's what we'll be talking about.
Poor Jackson just over there listening like, okay.
I'm like, it sounds fun, I guess. It sounds like the potato chips of first-person shooters, if that makes sense. Like, it's there. I'll eat it. But, like...
it ain't good for you.
Yeah.
Call of Duty's the popcorn. You know? You get the popcorn. It's kind of good for you, too. But popcorn got butter. and salt. Prefer popcorn over potato chips. Maybe that's not a great analogy. All right, David, what
right now would just be like Staples or something.
All right, David, what news we got?
News. I guess we will go ahead and start off. It's not the first thing on my news agenda, but there was a game that got revealed today. It was called Immortals of Avium. It is a EA original, which is their publishing arm that helps indie studios to make games. We've gotten some really cool ones out of them, like Lost in Random and It Takes Two came out of that arm.
Knockout City.
City. So they've done a lot. They've actually had a lot of good hits out of that. And, you know, I've just got to commend EA because we all know the old microtransaction jokes and always online, all these different things that EA's done to their own reputation, mind you, because they did it. They had some deserved, but like, I almost get annoyed now when people make jokes at their expense because to me, they've really turned it around. Yes, EA still has FIFA and Madden and all these microtransactions in those and whatnot, but they're also putting out some really good stuff, like with the Star Wars Jedi and this that's coming up with Immortals of Avium, with supporting some of these really good indie games, recognizing good indie games. They're starting to get some of those good single player games out, some really good other things. So it's just nice to see. But we will watch the trailer for this real quick because none of these guys have seen this yet. And I actually came away impressed by this. See your red, blue, and green magic there.
Is Avium. Since we first learned to use magic, we've waged war over who would control it. Now, only Lucium remains to resist the tyrant of Rasharn. Sandrak will eventually be able to block our access to magic. Then the Everwar is over.
Over? As in he takes over Lucium?
As in he takes over everything. A name for what you are.
A Magnus. I want to be an immortal. I want to fight this war as one of you. One of the elite.
I believe in you. She definitely thinks you're going to die. That's why her face looks like that.
Get in position!
Doom and I are old friends.
Your sigil will help you focus your magic. Prevent it from killing you. I found a child whose new powers could make them a threat to the kingdom I protect. The choice was to either kill you or turn you into a weapon against Rasharn.
Back up. Option A was to kill me?
Game. gameplay looks cool.
Yeah, it's definitely, you can tell that that's alpha because that's it. The gameplay itself looks a little more grainy, I guess you could say, compared to everything. But I guess the biggest thing is you could totally tell that those are former Call of Duty devs behind the game.
The gun hands, the gun hand magic. I love
the gun hand. The first thing I thought was Call of Duty when they have that whole, they're flying into the one thing and they're getting shot in the air and then they all jump off and dive down like that. I was like, okay, that's straight out of like a World War II game, the parachuting down into battle. But like, honestly, I like the idea.
What
Like,
is
it looks
the idea?
fun.
Is it what genre is it?
It's a single player first person magic shooter.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it's
The
all
writing,
story.
It sounded a little bit Marvel-y.
Yeah.
I hope it's not all like that, but like if the gunplay, the
Gunplay.
magic hand gunplay
Magic play.
is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
If that's good, then I
Well,
wouldn't mind.
It says right here that the alumni who are at this studio, Ascendant, these are people who have worked on old Telltale games, BioShock, Borderlands, and Call of Duty.
Oh, that's promising.
Okay, now that you said that, I can literally pinpoint every moment. I was like, that's BioShock, that's Call of Duty, that's Borderlands, that's okay. Because I was like, is this like a looter magic shooter? I was like, what is this?
They said, so here's one of the things that was written. Avium has 3 ribbons of magic. Chaos is the red, Force is the blue, Life is the green. In basic weapon terms, they said that Chaos, the red, it's like a shotgun. Blue is more of an accurate long-range rifle, and green is like an SMG.
Okay.
So
Did I see the blue one like charge in with melee though?
maybe, but that might have just been what they were doing at that point. But they said that the sound behind it is more FPS. So it's a lot of explosion and like the thudding that you heard with a lot of the different stuff. You see, I'm trying to find the guy's name, one of the guys' name that they were talking to. Brett Robbins. He actually has credits on 3 Call of Duty titles, and he was actually at Visceral when they did Dead Space.
I was going to say, one of those guys, like the red dudes, look like Dead Space engineers.
Yeah. So, like I said,
right.
I don't know that it's necessarily going to be the perfect game, but at the same point, it does look fun.
Yeah.
And it's from a fledgling developer. The only worry that I would have is them possibly being sent out to die because it is going to be a full price title.
Well, I think one of the other worries to have is obviously with first person shooters, guns are important. There are no guns. So what does shooting this magic feel like and how interesting will it be is
exactly
a real big issue. They're going to have to show what that looks like in order to sell this game.
Judging by that like green SMG type thing, it looked pretty good.
It looked pretty. But
well, like they said with like the thuds and the explosions, if you can
Sure.
somehow capture that, and again, if these are former Call of Duty developers, then they know what a good gun, what good gunplay is. If you can find a way to make that translate.
Yeah. But we're talking about magic now. So now it's literally like.
But if it almost feels like there's no difference though comparatively, like the way it hits and everything, it's just flashier.
Yeah, and that matters. Like you can't just be like, oh, and stuff flies out your hand. Like that's boring, right? Like all of that stuff has to culminate into something interesting and cool looking. I'm not worried about the sound. The sound was great.
It looked like they were it looked like the person was constantly, your character was constantly switching too. So that's kind of a cool way to do it as well. If you're not locked into like one.
Yeah, and that That'd be
Kinda
interesting. I know.
yeah. So, like I said, it looks really cool. Obviously
at it
has a
for
lot
sure.
to measure up to, but I'll say the cinematic visuals are, and I know cinematics look good nowadays in general, but I thought that was pretty top tier for
Yeah.
something that
No, EA proper
Yeah.
definitely cut that
Yeah.
trailer.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
So
But lots of good experience in that room, so hopefully they can get it right, because it's always nice to see a game be able to make it.
Yeah. So the story is supposed to be like literally immortal beings locked in a stalemate until like the big bad finds a way to shift the tides. And that's
I guess one of the things that they actually brought up is a lot of what they were looking at was almost taking like today's military stories to a degree, but shifting it to be magic.
Okay.
Yeah, more fantasy.
Yeah, more fantasy. Like
More
they were like,
sci-fi,
well, there's a helicopter going in. What if that was a dragon? Like,
Right, yeah.
so it feels like it's almost going to be a very modern take on the fantasies genre. At least that's the aim.
It's like Call of
what they're
Duty
trying to do.
Hogwarts edition.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yep.
Call of Duty Hogwarts. Yeah. There you go.
Yep. Call
All
of
right.
Duty Modern Hogwarts.
Next.
Next, where are we at? There was a new Zelda trailer today. Since
Oh,
we're
yeah.
on a trailer kick,
Yeah, the trailer.
which we said we're just going to throw that in the background and just talk about it because we don't really have a lot of time to just go crazy with it. It was a trailer.
It was a beautiful
That's the biggest
trailer.
thing I could say. Oh yeah, great
it was-
great trailer.
It's a beautiful trailer. Music was fantastic. I think at this point, well, I guess the discourse I find weird about
It was a good hype trailer. Like,
oh,
that's a good way to put it.
absolutely. Oh yeah, fantastic hype trailer. I was hyped after it, but
Oh,
a lot of people after the gameplay trailer that they showed before this, I think 3 weeks ago, a lot of yeah, I would say a lot of people, maybe not the majority, but a lot of people were kind of like, oh, this kind of all right. It looks like more Breath of the Wild. You know, the fuse mechanic looks pretty cool. There's some more creative options to do, but yeah, okay, it's more Breath of the Wild. All right, well, maybe I won't pay $70 for this. I'll wait till it goes on sale. Yeah, that's the kind of discourse I was seeing. Obviously, there were a lot of people that were like, "Oh yeah, that looks really cool." Of course, but then this trailer comes out and they're like, "Oh my god, they can
Game
have
of
my
the
money."
year.
Yeah, I'm getting this. I get confused by that because I'm just like, did you not go back and watch the gameplay trailer that you saw before? And it's that hasn't changed because now they've cut together with some fantastic music and some great visuals. It looks great. This trailer is a fantastic trailer. I'm not trying to take it away. It's
yeah,
a
that's
great
the whole point of the
freaking
trailer. To get them hyped.
Yep.
I know that's the
It's like
point.
you-
Nintendo did their job. All right, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying, why
like-
y'all being so gullible? That's
Yeah, it's like
that's all I'm saying.
remember that this is not going to be NFL Red Zone. You're going to have to play the whole game.
Right. And they're just, it's just like
There are going to be the
Maybe
running through the
because-
field moments where you have nothing to
Yes.
do for 15 minutes.
yeah, okay, yeah, and that's fine. Like, you know what you're getting with that, but people are like, oh my god, this is going to be like somebody who's fairly prominent and covers a lot of Nintendo stuff. They said, oh, there's innovative platforming. I'm like, you saw 3 seconds of somebody jumping, Link jumping in midair. That's innovative platforming. Like,
Yeah.
are we like, can we stop with the exaggeration of what we're seeing? Like, take it, look at what you're seeing, and you walk away with innovative platforming. And that
Yep.
and that was just one thing. I'm like, no. And it's okay to let the hype overwhelm. That's fine. Like, I know fans aren't going to look at it critically, but I feel like as a person, I'd be trying to look out for people's wallets. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
that's how I feel like my role is. Like, I'm trying to help you stay centered And at the end of the day, there's going to be great bosses. There's going to be, more Breath of the Wild. And if you like that, that's fantastic. You have a reason to buy this. But we haven't seen any dungeons. We haven't seen any gameplay outside of what we saw the week before. And when you have that kind of issue, it makes me wonder, what are they hiding? Why aren't they showing a little bit more? Like, show us a little bit of a dungeon. Even if it's like, one of the whatever 140, like if they have smaller dungeons, we don't even know if they're continuing with that.
Yeah, the
Do they have more larger dungeons? Yeah. So there's still a lot of questions, and people are like, yeah, but there's so much more. It's like, it's so much more because you actually got some water. All right. You were thirsty. Yep. Now you got a little bit of water, and now you're satisfied. And I don't think they
did his job.
Enough. Yeah. So kudos to Nintendo.
That's what trailers are for.
Yeah. Trailer did what trailers do. Yeah.
Trailers did what trailers do. This was a great, you look back in history and go, what was a great hype trailer? Tears of the Kingdom 2023. Absolutely. That's going to be in the history books.
Common Nintendo W.
Yeah. But I just get fascinated by how people are so quick to flip after seeing not really that much.
Discourse, man. Discourse. Speaking of discourse, there has been a whole lot of it this week about a certain game that can't count to 60. Redfall, after what were glowing previews, probably played on PCs.
Yeah.
We found out that on the Xbox Series X and S at launch, there will not be a 60 frames per second mode, a performance mode. There will just be 30 frames. There are a lot of different ways that we can go with this.
I think probably all three of us have a different way of going about this.
My biggest thing is, why did it take until now to say something? But beyond the fact of you were probably working hard behind closed doors trying to make this work. But here's the thing. It's just shooters, to me, especially a co-op shooter, way better at 60. And if it is something that you're going to put into the game, why not delay? I know you've already delayed. It's already kind of, but it feels even more so that you're sending it out to die when you're in between Jedi Survivor and Tears of the Kingdom. Like, you're stuck between two games that are going to command the internet's complete attention over the next month. Like, I get that it exists in its own circle and it has Game Pass, but come on. Like, it just does not feel right in the sense of, like, this feels like it's being sent out to die. I've seen that said by several people, and it kind of feels like that because there are a lot of people who just plan on not playing this till the update. I personally, on the side of things, games don't always have to be 60. I prefer, if I'm playing a shooter, for it to be at 60. That's just the way it goes. At the very least.
Yes.
Yeah. To me, it just, if it's a shooter, if I'm playing like Gotham Knights, I see it, but it's not as necessary in Gotham Knights for me.
Yeah.
Compared to this, like this just feels like it. Why does Xbox keep doing this? Why do they keep letting this happen? Like it boggles my mind. You get all this good press, and then this happens.
Yeah, I don't have a question or answer for that. I think so. This is one of those things where having a publisher does help. Publishers are trying to make money too, and obviously Bethesda is Arcane's publisher for this game, but Microsoft owns Bethesda, and so I feel like this is a situation where Microsoft would have to step in and go, delay it. We know what you we know what you put out. Delay it. It's fine. We'll release it at another time.
The fall, maybe. It looks pretty spooky.
Quite possibly. That would be an appropriate time, sometime before Halloween. That's appropriate. Call of Duty, though, typically has something around that time. Near the end of the years is a tougher time, but that would be appropriate. But I feel like Microsoft at this point has had so many not wins that they are scared to do something like delay it. Because if they delay it, it's going to push back other plans, possibly.
Yeah.
And that also would look bad. Like at this point, this game, Redfall not being at 60, like that's just a lose-lose in every way. There is no win here. If they delay it, the message is, see, Microsoft can't release games. That's what people are going to say. That's going to be the story. If they do this and release it at 4K 30, then we have what the story is now. Microsoft is tripping. They look what they did with Halo Infinite. Now this is happening with Redfall. You know, like this, there is no win for Microsoft here. And so I feel like you take the lesser L, which is delay it.
Yeah.
Because at some point Starfield is going to come out. And if it comes out before Redfall, like, hey, you know, great. If not, and you delay Redfall, there's still probably enough time between it and Starfield where Redfall could get a little play. But I do feel like that is kind of the reason why they're releasing it anyway, because anywhere else, it will die. Like, this is the best place for Redfall to launch. So people are saying, like, if they launch it this way...
there's nothing in July.
Well, I guess it depends on how long it would take to actually implement this. If this was
because we don't know how quick this is going to be done. Because I guarantee you it could be 3 months because of the fact of when you don't give a date, that means this isn't like a, oh, we'll have it done in 2 weeks thing.
Right. But it also could be like, no, they could have it done within a month to 3 months, right?
And they could be surprised. Could be a window.
Yeah. So I feel like that's actually part of the reason why they're okay with launching it on the same date with that, because they have a feeling they could probably get it done within a reasonable time that Redfall is still relevant enough to where they launch it. Not as many people play it because it's 30 frames per second. And then, a month later, maybe a little bit more. Boom. Here's the season. Oh, okay. And then if it ends up having good press, either from PC players or people who are willing to tolerate it at 30 frames per second, then it's like, okay, well, sounds like it's a great game. And they got the 60 frames now. Okay, I'll check it out. So initially, it's not a win. But it could be if Redfall actually turns out to be the thing. Good. The problem is I don't think Redfall actually looks to be that great. So
it'll be very interesting to see what happens. What I do think is funny is if people are upset about this, just wait until they find out that Starfield's going to be 30 frames per second.
Well, they already know. Ooh. They already said it.
Yeah, but he never actually said it. It was more that Howard implied that was where they're going. That's where they're always at with their games. But there's no way that the worlds that they're promising are going to be rendered in a big open world like that at 60 frames. Like unless Todd Howard found something absolute magic that, that's just not going to happen. But man, the discourse is going to be ridiculous when people find that out, because I think there's a lot of people, even if they do know it, there's a lot of people who have tricked themselves into forgetting.
Yeah.
It just
or they're in denial of it because Starfield, I do not see any way Starfield manages to hit 60 frames. And here's the thing. I don't know that there will be a performance mode at all for Starfield.
Oh, probably not. Yeah.
I don't think that you can make a performance mode that gives it that.
No.
That's just the God honest truth. And when you have more intensive engines, when you have more intensive games that you want to make more immersive, you have to give things up, and that's what's going to get given up. And in fact, as we move into Unreal 5, a lot of games are going to come out and they're going to be 30 frames, whether people like it or not. Not everybody, not every team can do it. Yeah.
The advantage with Unreal Engine 5, at least it's supposed to be, is that it's supposed to be able to take high fidelity stuff and, for lack of a better way to put it, but compress it in a way so that it's not as hardware intensive. But
that usually means that people just push the bar.
Exactly.
So which means that we're probably, because like I guarantee you, we've already seen kind of some things, but one of Naughty Dog's developers actually said something along the lines of like, who's surprised about this 30 frames thing? Naughty Dog's next game is probably 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
But it's fine because they make story-based games.
Right.
So that's, once again, I think we already kind of discussed that it's the genre that they are in, that it's like, why is this happening in this genre? Shooters, even this stealth-based, really need to operate at 60 because FPS games just work better at that. There's a reason Call of Duty may have not looked as good or had as much destruction as Battlefield, but they were pushing 60 frames even on consoles because they were okay with losing some of the high fidelity to give the frame rate, and it made a huge difference for COD.
Yep.
So
Jess Corden at Windows Central wrote a column. It was really interesting. It was really insightful. Just his breakdown of all this, and he's basically saying that this isn't about Redfall. It's about years of Xbox failures, and this is just another one, and it's just built up. Right?
You know it's bad if Jez is starting to say stuff like this.
Yeah. So like, I read it, I was like, dude, that's like a great read on the situation. Like I'm rarely impressed with other people's opinions, but like that, I was like, that's a fantastic read on the situation, because he like takes it back, like pretty much since the Xbox One, Xbox has been on the back foot, right? So they haven't really had any huge wins outside of Game Pass since the Xbox One. Like the Xbox Series,
they had that one moment in 2021 where we felt like they had gained momentum.
Yeah. And you know, the Xbox Series X is a fantastic piece of hardware. Like, it's very good. And then you have Game Pass, and then Hi-Fi Rush. There you go. You know, and I like Hi-Fi Rush a whole lot.
It's good, but it's not a system seller.
No, it's not. It's not even a Game Pass seller. So, you know, he looks at all of that and it's like, thing after thing after thing after thing. Oh, here's a win. There's a win. There's that. And it basically culminates this moment with Redfall. And it's like, dude, like, like you said, Redfall had some good press. Can y'all just keep momentum going? Is that possible?
Doesn't feel like they can get out of their own way.
Yeah. So people who are like, I play on Xbox, are feeling like
second-class citizens is what somebody said.
Yes. And I really can't, like, did I really buy the wrong machine? You know, like,
well, and right now you have to look at it, somebody who's fresh, like consoles are just now starting to get available. Not completely on Xbox's side, because they are harder to get right now because they've got a really random shortage. It's another stupid issue on Series X's.
Yeah.
But people have to be sitting there thinking, okay, PlayStation's the one that everybody's talking about right now. PlayStation's the one that has all kinds of games on it. Why would I grab an Xbox for the promised stuff when even the promised stuff is having issues.
Right.
So like I said, I love, and this is coming from someone who owns both machines, who will be playing the heck out of Starfield when it comes out, whether or not it's on Xbox or PC. Like, I just don't get it. Like you said, every time they do something right, they step on a Lego.
Yeah. Sounds like you want to say something, Jackson. Yeah.
Oh no, I was just laughing at when David
he's
step on a Lego.
I mean, that's a good way of putting it, because
feeling.
I mean,
everyone knows that.
It just doesn't make sense. Like, it really doesn't. And I think we've talked about it before. So many other companies are really good at balancing their bad news with good news.
Yes.
Like, PlayStation almost always says their bad thing on like Tuesday, because on Friday you're going to get the good thing or something or another. Like, it's always a balance of how this news is getting out. It feels like it's always Xbox's balance is completely off. There's never good news to counter the bad news. It's always having to have one of the talking heads hit Twitter or something like that and be like, hey, we're sorry we messed this up. We'll do better next time.
Yep.
Having a really hard time seeing when next time is going to happen when it keeps happening over and over and over. Like, the only studio I feel like I trust over there at this point is Obsidian. Yeah. Because they've given me no reason not to trust them as good as stuff as they put out.
And that's what's so funny about this situation. This really isn't like bad.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this is no indication that the game won't be playable. This is no indication that there's going to be performance issues. This is, the game is locked at 30 frames per second at launch. Okay, yeah, that's not good in the sense of good for the genre, good for a first-person shooter. But this isn't like Halo Infinite looks just, oh my God, like this is what you're going to give us, you know, that type of situation. This isn't, you know, the game just looks abjectly abysmal, like Suicide Squad. You know,
it's a downer. That's really what it is. Yes. It's a downer. It feels like these bricks that keep getting laid on the Xbox owners' backs, and they just keep going down and down and down. And it's like, come on, how much further do I have to get down before you take one of these off?
Right. Yeah. Just bogged down.
The Redfall previews felt like one of them came off and then it just put right back on. So it's, somebody said I made the stupid decision to jump into an Xbox fan's Twitter space after all of this. Mainly because of the entertainment value.
Oh yeah.
But one of the biggest things was just they kept saying, it's like, you know why PlayStation fans never act this way? It's like, because they just look at their bad news, they go, well, at least we're not Xbox.
Yeah. Seriously. And even if they don't have that, at least they have some good games.
Yep. At least we have something to play.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's a real tough situation that Microsoft just continues to find themselves in. And I hate it for the brand, because truly 2021 with Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite hitting at the end, it really felt like Xbox had that momentum. It really felt like, okay, we're finally stepping into Xbox becoming that brand that we thought they were in 360 days. Like that they were getting to. And now it's like, okay, we're right back to, like, I don't want to sound that way. It feels like we're right back to being in Xbox One era again.
It's not that.
It's not that bad. Well, it's not the begin. Well, it's not the begin. Not the beginning of it necessarily, because the beginning was abysmal.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad.
We're closer to that than we are to 360. Let's just put it that way.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing, where we are conflating this one thing.
Well, and I'm talking about all of it. I'm talking about all of it as a whole.
Right. But, you know, this thing is like, oh, we're back in Xbox. I mean, we still got Minecraft Legends coming out. Like, Minecraft is huge, right? I imagine that would be pretty good. So there's that. And even as JustPort, it's not like Microsoft hasn't had any, like Flight Simulator, Age of Empires 4, Hi-Fi Rush recently. So it's not like Microsoft has had nothing. It's just when we look at the big stuff, they're not doing well with those. And Redfall.
So what you're telling me is the system sellers.
Right, yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yep.
The system sellers have not been have had great
Up to
news
par.
around them.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I mean, 2023 kind of feels like the year of indie, just in my opinion.
For Xbox?
Just in general, like Hi-Fi Rush was still like pretty great.
It's my game of the year for now.
Yeah,
Like,
for now. Atomic Heart.
You play Legend of Zelda.
well, yeah, sure. Quite,
If you see the
hey,
one-
quite possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on. Did you? I thought you had more.
Oh
Yeah, I
no,
was
I
like,
said
yeah.
Atomic Heart. I've seen some bangers on Steam. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good AAA too, though, with
Forspoken.
stuff like you have
Sorry.
that counts.
it
Diablo
doesn't.
4, Final Fantasy, and Street Fighter all in the same month.
Oh god, yeah. Jeez.
All in the same month.
I know. Stop.
All in the same month. Tears of the
Out.
Kingdom. We've got
Yeah.
Jedi Survivor about to come out, which is going to be one of the best games we've ever played because it's coming out after something Horizon. Starfield still has yet to come out. Spider-Man 2.
True.
I can't wait for Spider-Man 2.
All right, next.
Well, a superhero game that won't be as good as Spider-Man 2 is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which has been delayed until 2024. This is our last news piece. Nobody is really surprised. Jason Schreier had already mentioned that it was going to be delayed, and Jeff Grubb said he heard it could be delayed as far as 2024. Well, now it is February. Here's the worst thing. Since Arkham Knight, it will have been, I believe, Benji Sales said 8 years and 7 months since the last Rocksteady game came out. The last mainline, because they did technically do the VR game.
I feel sorry for Rocksteady. No wonder the
Yeah.
leads left. No wonder.
I don't. One of the biggest, unless somehow this game ends up very good, which let's be real here. I don't care. I don't care about there being a delay. There needed to be a delay. 9 months is not enough to change core gameplay. You cannot change the entirety of what your game is in 9 months. Because you're probably still dealing with the issues that you have currently.
I agree. Here, I won't say I also disagree. I will say they won't change the core gameplay, but they can change how it is executed. So, for example, I guess in the simplest way I can put it is it could be more interesting.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
All these characters having guns and not really acting as they, as probably their characters could. They could probably work that out in 9 months. Because they're not changing the core gameplay. They are changing what they do within that core gameplay. So I am fine with Suicide Squad being a looter or whatever it is. But I would prefer if it were not a looter shooter. I want the characters to kind of be them. I want the weapons and the items and all that to reflect the Suicide Squad. That's what I am looking for when I see this game. I'm okay with it having numbers and loot and all that.
I'm curious if they won't all still have guns though. Like
I
I
know.
could see that
I
remaining
agree.
completely the same.
I agree.
There's some people that have said, you know, maybe they're working on removing the live service elements, which I completely don't believe is going to happen because I don't think executives will let that happen.
No,
Yeah,
they'll just perfect it.
Like you said, find a way to make it more interesting and where people will be okay with the mechanics. But like the worst thing about all of it is the fact that they're having to spend 9 more months working on this. That's 9 months that they won't be able to just move on to the next thing.
I know. Yeah.
Like that. The one of the biggest bag fumbles is Rocksteady being like, "Nah, we ain't gonna make another Batman." Because
I still don't agree with that, but yes, I hear what you're saying.
I feel like it is just because I think Batman is money compared to what this is.
Sure, yeah.
I think Batman would have made a lot more money. Even an average Batman game would have made more money than what I feel like this will. Can this be better? Sure, but I just don't see it happening.
What'd you say, Jackson?
I said even with the great premise, just the concept of Batman is a money printer. Even with like the sheer terror of fighting godlike beings as a shark person, like doesn't compare to Batman.
No. But what David is saying, like that's just the game they should have made. Instead of wasting their time on this. I make the argument what Suicide Squad is now may not have been what they conceptualized and started working on. So that's where I say yes, it would have been money to do that, but it may not have been at the time, at conception and all that. Suicide Squad was not going to be like some like abject failure for money wise that it looks like it's going to become.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
And it could still be great in the end. Like the gameplay loop could be ridiculously addictive when we get to it in February of next year. It's just, you know, they're so far. It just feels like, it took way too long to get to this.
No, it feels like wasted time now.
And that's on Rocksteady. It's not on anybody else beyond Rocksteady. They were.
It could be Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I would say that they were not prepared to make a live service game.
Agreed.
And it completely shows in how all of this has been handled, because it was constant year after constant year of what are they making? What are they making? What are they making? They finally show it, and then it was, when do we see it? When do we see it? When do we see it? We finally see it. We get a date, and nobody wants to see it.
Yeah.
So
it may not have started out as a live service game. That's kind of the funky part of it.
Yep. I don't know. It's just it's one of those things of you know, we always talk about Microsoft and their management decisions and stuff is a management decision that if you were getting shoehorned into a live service game, you got to make sure you get the right people in place for it. Because we all know it is hard to survive in this industry as a live service game. It was hard to survive when there weren't a lot of live service games, like because some of them just didn't work and weren't interesting. But now when you've got competition, it's even harder. So
yep, absolutely.
You gotta make sure you got the right people in place, and you know. As much crap as I'm giving them, I really hope they turn it around and it ends up being a fantastic game, because some of my best moments in gaming have been playing the Arkham series. The Arkham games are one of the few games I've gone back and played again. Like, and I still want to go back and replay Arkham Knight again. So like I really hope they get it right, because when Rocksteady proved it in Batman that they can make one of the most fun gameplay loops out there. So we'll see.
We will see.
Yep.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us tonight, whatever time.
Oh, but before we get out of here, I do want to call out Firewall. I think it's Ultra. something like it. Firewall Ultra. That's a PlayStation's VR shooter.
Okay.
Something that's kind of really neat is they're using eye tracking for like your weapon selection wheel. But something else that they did is if a flashbang comes in the room, if you close your this is actually what's
blind you.
You get stabbed. A little thing comes out and stabs you in the eye. No, what's neat is you actually, if you close your eyes, the eye tracking picks that up, and if it goes off and then you open your eyes back up, it won't affect you.
Oh.
Like, so it's a neat thing, and they're actually doing a similar thing with the flashlights, like that are on like weapons and stuff, that like you can use them to try and kind of keep people from being able to see. But one of the things you can actually do is you can take the controller and put your hand in front of the flashlight, so you could like pop it off and like flashbang, essentially make your own flashbang.
Huh.
I love that.
That is interesting.
And stuff. So just neat things that are like you don't think about playing in like a regular Call of Duty game, but it's like, oh, in VR, that makes sense.
Yeah.
that this would be something. But like I really like the idea of I close my eyes, that keeps me from being affected by a flashbang.
Yeah.
But it also leaves me vulnerable to being shot.
Of course.
Okay.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
That's quite sick.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that said, that'll do it for us tonight.
Yeah.
Appreciate you watching. Appreciate you listening. We'll be back next week. Deuces.
Peace.
Good being on here.